Welcome to everybody joining us. We are just going to give folks a couple of minutes to join before we get started here. Give it just another minute. People still file in. All right, well, I'd say we have a quorum to get started here. Well, hello everyone again. My name is Austin Blass, and I'm the Director of Corporate Marketing here at Robin. We're really excited to walk you through what's new in Robin and how these updates are going to make running your office easier. A couple quick things before I intro our two hosts for today. So today's webinar is being recorded, and we'll send out a copy of the recording to everybody that registered afterwards. Also, if you have any questions today, be sure to use the Q&A section, and we'll save time to answer any questions at the end of the webinar. If we don't have a chance to respond to your question, we'll make sure a member of the team follows up with you afterwards. So now, let me introduce our speakers for today. First up is Ciara Peter. She's our Senior Vice President of Product at Robin, and she's been leading the charge on where Robin's going and building features that make the office less frustrating for both employees and admins. And joining her is Becca Harrison, our Director of Customer Success. She's worked with teams across every kind of workplace setup and has seen what makes an office run smoothly and what doesn't. So here's a quick look at what we'll be covering today. Ciara is going to kick things off by talking through what it really takes to manage today's modern office. Then she'll walk through some of our favorite recent updates with some help from our product team and share Robin's vision for 2025. And after that, Becca has a really great customer story to share with us. And finally, we'll leave some time for your questions at the end, so be sure to put those in the Q&A. And with that, I will hand things over to Ciara.
Thanks so much, Austin, and thanks everybody for joining. I'm excited to talk about the new dynamics of the office, what's working, what's not, and how we can make it better. And spoiler alert, being back in the office doesn't mean that we've returned to normal. In fact, the real work of creating a functional, flexible workplace has really just begun. And as kind of an intro, right now, about 70% of workplaces have some kind of set schedule and in-office policies. Where it gets interesting is only 15% of those are operating at a true 5-day-in-a-week office model. So work in some ways feels more structured, but in practice, every day is pretty unpredictable. And this unpredictability creates friction. Companies have downsized their office space, and sometimes they assume that that means fewer days in office means less space is needed. But that approach can backfire without the right policies and tools in place. So you might be at 30% capacity on a Monday, and then the next day, Tuesday, you're at 120%. And a lot of the time meetings are booked by remote teammates or somebody in a different location, and they don't know where everyone's going to work. They might forget to reserve rooms, or you'll get rooms that are either too large or too small. But it's not just employees that feel the pain. Probably many of you on the call are stuck managing this chaos in real time. You're fielding tickets, you're putting out fires, and you have the responsibility of facility management, but also employee experience, and throw some IT in there for fun. Everything is urgent. It comes from 100 different directions, and that can be anything from an exec having an emergency client issue, or employees dealing with IT, or even just a spill on the 4th floor. And really, you need to be able to just do your day job on top of all of those kind of things that are thrown into the mix. At Robin, our mission is to make workplaces great without sacrificing operational efficiency or paying for more space than you need. And we do that by offering a unified platform for planning, managing, and using the office that automates tedious processes with AI while integrating with the platforms where you already work. When we think about planning, in the past, office planning was all about square footage. So you'd say, a desk per person model or some kind of ratio, but hybrid breaks that formula. And now you have desks that are assigned, you have some that are shared, you have hot desk, hotel desk, and all the ratios have to flex. But people are looking for a layer of predictability. One of the biggest things that employees don't like about hybrid work is actually that they can't go to the same place every time. They can't get the same desk. Yes, commutes can be daunting, but really it's the predictability and knowing that they'll be able to be productive when they come to the office. And so you need a layer of predictability within the chaos. For example, maybe you have some desks that only become reservable after priority spots are filled. You need to design for what people actually do in the office. And people have gotten really used to their optimized home setups, so the workplace now competes with that. That means that you need to have more spaces for heads down work, more purpose-built rooms and areas for collaboration, and a layout that is flexible enough to change when your space needs to. When we think about office management, this has changed so much. It's not about picking up phones and placing snack orders. It's a very strategic role. And workplace teams are navigating fluctuating attendance, changing office needs, and these reactive operations that we just talked about. Most of them, we polled some of our admins, and they're juggling anything from 3 to 10 tools per day to stay afloat because they don't have a source of truth. So not only are they in, Slack, Teams, Gmail, the basic kind of collaboration productivity tools, but if they have to manage a special event, they're going into Asana or Jira or whatever, whatever their constituent is using. And it becomes very confusing and chaotic quickly. So centralizing operations helps them plan ahead, stay proactive, and make sure that space gets used the right way. When the office runs smoothly, business runs much better. And last but not least, we'll talk about employees. They need to get the right resources, spaces, tools, access to people, in addition to that predictability that they're looking for. So if we make it easier for people to find a desk, book a room, see who's in, reduce the friction of just coming in just to be here, that's how you'll drive usage of your office and get the value, for what you have invested in this space, and really turning the workplace into a place that people want to be. So the key to managing offices in 2025, we believe, is operational clarity. By focusing on how people plan, manage, and use the office, we will help teams bring order to the chaos without sacrificing the human side of the workplace. So let's take a look at some of Robin's recent updates that can help your office live up to its full potential. First, I want to share updates to meeting services. It streamlines coordination by enabling seamless service requests for meeting and other workplace events, for those that are not yet familiar. So it allows teams to reserve rooms, request amenities, services like catering, AV, tech support, room setup, and coordinate all of the logistics from within the Robin platform. In our latest updates, we have added service requests to Outlook. So you no longer have to go to Robin's web app to create the service. Now you can request them in the context of your event, so you never have to leave Outlook to plan amazing meetings. Calendar event attendees are now also able to propose space changes in the Outlook add-in, making coordinating meetings more dynamic, and the status of the space is more clearly displayed in the add-in, making it easier to see when a room has rejected an invite. So users will see the room's response directly on the space card. No need to hover over the events in the calendar after you have created it. From within the Robin web app, you can also attach files to a service request. So that enables, if you need some kind of a budget approval, if you have a more detailed description of the event, you can attach those in. The list of file types is nearly unlimited. You can also auto-generate PDFs. So if you're working with a vendor that doesn't have access to Robin, you can generate those PDFs from the list of service requests or from the actual request and send those over. And you can export individual service tickets. The next couple of updates will come from videos from my colleagues. So let's dive into those.
Austin here with Robin. Let's talk about Robin's workplace dashboard for admins and workplace operators. First, why have we built this? We spent quite a while now building a product that helps folks operate the workplace. That could be approving meeting requests, that could be managing meeting rooms, registering visitors, making sure the catering gets to the right meeting room at the right time. Of course, all of these things can be pretty challenging to keep track of, and they add up pretty quickly in terms of things that you need to have your finger on. So we built our very own workplace dashboard. Let's check out what it looks like. When I get to the dashboard, I see several things here. First, I've selected an office and a date range to make sure I'm looking forward over the next month and a half or so to make sure I have a feel of what's happening in the office. I can see office attendance, including folks that have checked in and have been confirmed as on site today. I can see room displays. If there's been a room display that's gone offline, it's going to show up here. Office feedback here, as you can see, we're not using this in this particular location, but as folks get back into the office and are really implementing their return to office plans, this can be really useful. If I scroll down a little bit, you'll see visits and deliveries. These are two newer items to Robin. You can check out visits. Typically what I like to do is make sure that there's no VIP visitors coming. You can see, got one coming up 10:45 today. Just like to be aware of who's going to be in the office, obviously. Also really helpful if you've got visiting employees coming from different locations. Deliveries, you'll see here, these show as pending deliveries and who they're intended for. I really like to use this deliveries tab here to cross-reference who's in to make sure that if I know someone's checked in as on site for the day, I can send them a reminder in the deliveries tab. We've got announcements. We do have a US holiday coming up on April 18th, so our office is going to be closed. I also just found out earlier today that our office is going to have some office construction over the next 2 weeks or so. So I wanted to make people aware if they're having issues, they can always reach out to the facilities team. Finally, meeting approvals and service requests. Looks like everything's been approved for now, so no action for me to take, and I don't actually see any new meeting requests, room requests coming up over the next month or so. So it should be good there. I can check back obviously as needed to make sure I'm on top of things. Service request, it does look like I have a service request that needs approval for a room setup tomorrow. So I'll make sure that I make a note to come back and address that. Also, some breakfast for tomorrow. Want to make sure I don't forget that. Make sure that everything's set for folks who are needing breakfast in their actual meeting. Finally, the last thing here, calendar status. Everything looks all healthy. This is great just to check to make sure no calendars have gone offline. We haven't lost connection with them. If they have, folks obviously will be prevented from being able to book different spaces. So this is really nice to make sure we're staying on top of things. Stay tuned as we add more and more to this dashboard over time, make things more actionable. Look forward to hearing your feedback.
Parking spots and lockers are now available as out-of-the-box resources alongside spaces and desks within Robin. We built parking spots and lockers in order to ensure that your most important resources are available in the platform in order for your employees to be able to book them and eventually have them assigned. In order to add parking spots and lockers to your maps, go into the layout tool, and that is available for anyone who has those permissions. You'll see that parking spots and lockers are now available on the map as out-of-the-box resources. You can drag and drop the parking spots as well as the lockers onto the map. You can resize them, rename the groups. Let's call this parking area 1. You'll see that resource names come out of the box. You can add an image. You can also set a subcategory. These are going to be EV parking spots, and add amenities such as a charger. You can make them handicapped accessible, and then also select the booking type, where there can be a different booking type for each day of the week. I will also put a note here, and putting a note here means that your employees will be able to see that. So park for only 4 hours. As well as details, you're able to select policies and set those either for an individual parking spot or for all of the parking spots in that group. These policies are what allows for or doesn't allow for your employees to book around specific days, times, etc. I'll go ahead and publish this. And once this is published, then you're able to see what the employee experience would be once you go to the Office tab. That bank of parking spots and the bank of lockers that we just added appear here. As an employee, I would be able to come here and I would be able to first view the amenities, the booking policies, as well as the note related to this parking spot. I would also be able to go ahead and book for single day, multi-day, or range. Once I hit book, then that parking spot becomes unavailable to anybody else. And I know that that is my parking spot for the day. The other piece of parking spots and lockers coming out is that we launched our new Robin Workplace mobile app. Similar to what I just showed on the office map, employees are able to come into the mobile app, select the available parking spot, book that parking spot, and then see that they have that parking spot available to them. With that, we have custom resources coming soon, where you'll be able to put any type of resource on your map, as well as the ability to assign those resources to individuals. Thank you.
Give you a sneak peek of Robin's AI assistant, now in beta for all advanced analytics customers. If you're managing a hybrid office, your time is already stretched thin. Using Robin makes it easy to gather tons of useful info to help shape the future of your workspace. The AI assistant takes it further, surfacing insights in seconds so you can make smarter decisions without digging through spreadsheets. So let's show you how it works. Let's say I'm a workplace experience manager at a 2,000-person company, responsible for moving to a new office with less space. I need to figure out how many assigned and flex desks to allocate to each department. We ask our employees to come in 3 days a week and give assigned desks to people who come in 4. So I fire up the AI assistant. Giving a specific time range makes the AI assistant provide faster and more accurate responses. So I ask, give me a list of people by department that on average come into the office more than 4 days a week for the past year. The AI assistant can format information in a table automatically or by request. Now I know which employees to give assigned desks to across each department. Next, I'd like to figure out which meeting rooms support the needs of each department. So I ask the AI assistant specific instructions on how I want it to provide information to help it format better responses. What are the most common meeting rooms that occur in the office? And just like that, we're on our way to a right-sized office strategy. Robin's AI assistant is now available for all advanced analytics customers at no extra cost. Go give it a try.
All right. Big thanks to my colleagues who created those videos, and want to also share some small but important improvements in addition to those. So with exporting move data, Robin helps companies like yours plan your space in a data-driven way with collaborators. And now you can export the move plans to make it easier to change seating assignments around your building. We've also improved check-in quality to be able to distinguish between employees who have remotely checked in and those who are on site if you have those settings applied to your organization. So if you don't have remote check-in, that part won't apply to you, but you can see these updates in the work week and the daily roster, and this helps you get a better real-time picture of who's in the office. And finally, sometimes you feel like your day is all lined up. You have a few meetings in a row in the same room, And yet somehow you lose the room in the middle of your second meeting because you forgot to check in. And of course, you're going to forget to check in if you're in the same room. You don't want to get up and go back to your room display a bunch of times. So now, if you've checked in once, Robin will automatically check in users to back-to-back meetings if they're in the same room. So now we'll dive into our vision and roadmap. Reminder that all roadmap items and timelines are subject to change. And I would describe our vision as over the next year, focusing on building an integrated suite that helps you plan, manage, and use your workplace effectively. To better plan the office, our focus will be on making your planning experience more intelligent and automated. So we're going to bring the insights to where you're actually doing that planning for those who have been using us. The layout tool, the assignment tool, we want you to actually be able to see insights, ask for those insights, and receive recommendations to make these really important decisions. We'll help you manage your office by being the single source of truth for all things workplace management, including visitors, service requests, issue tracking, and more. And we will help the office be used more effectively and intelligently by automating employee reservations and right-sizing spaces in real time. So let's dive into what some of this looks like in more detail. The vision for intelligent space planning is to make workplaces more adaptive, data-informed, and people-centered. By organizing space around how teams work and making it easy to manage and adjust, will reduce friction and improve utilization. Neighborhoods will allow you to allocate resources and delegate management of a group of resources by department. Color coding will also help your end users navigate the space and focus just on the work area that they need to. And with automation and AI, we'll give workplace teams the tools to make confident, strategic decisions about space at every scale. So that means providing usage insights in line for space planning, and also adding our AI analytics assistant to this view to ask real-time questions and provide recommendations on how to optimize your space. As companies come back to the office, workplace teams are under pressure to do a lot more with the space they already have. And when meeting rooms get booked inefficiently, so either too few people, too many people, companies either have to invest in more real estate that you don't need, or employees are left without rooms, without a place to go, and an experience that doesn't allow them to be productive. So our updates to the meeting room view are designed to surface these inefficiencies in real time and make it easier for you to rebalance and optimize your space without needing to expand your footprint. First, what you'll see soon is an improvement to our space recommendation algorithm that really is going to provide that accuracy of the capacity to attendees and place a higher importance on that over proximity or recency. Those are all still important factors, but in testing, the adjustments that I just described align to what we've heard from you and all of our customers. And then we will enable drag and drop in this view to let you restack your schedule on the fly. So imagine how you would do that in your other calendar apps like Outlook, Calendar, GCal. Just being able to move things around is really important for people that have to manage, multiple rooms, multiple changes. And finally, we'll be introducing a scheduling agent. A scheduling agent does a lot of things, what you would expect from an agent, but helping to manage booking conflicts. So as you're moving things around, you may need to schedule over something that already exists, and the agent will go ahead and suggest places for that other meeting to go. But let's say you don't even know which space you want to move your event to. You can let the agent know what it is that you need, and it will suggest a place to go. Finally, you can actually just type in the details of your event that you want to plan, even if it hasn't been, if it doesn't exist yet, and the agent will find a place for it. So we'll talk about some evolution to the workplace operations dashboard. The complex mix of tasks that need to be done every day really make context switching difficult, and it's hard to stay ahead of issues and create a smooth experience for employees. So the workplace dashboard now brings everything into one place, and soon you will be able to customize the layout of the dashboard on our web app. By the way, for anyone who has not seen this, if you're an admin, you can access it from the top right of the page. I believe it's the profile icon. It is one of the controls in the top right of your overall view. You'll see a workplace admin dashboard available, and you can navigate to it from there. Side note, we'll also be updating the navigation to expose some of these key views more easily, but that's where it is for now. So you'll be able to customize the layout, and we've also been working on an admin mobile app. So that is available on Android and iOS today. It currently is very, very simple and just includes a delivery scanner. So if you have deliveries turned on, you can scan them in our mobile app, but very soon you'll be able to manage visits and also meeting services from the mobile app. We will also provide push notifications for urgent workplace issues from the app. So let us know as you start playing around with this, what type of notifications would be most useful to you. On the note of workplace operations and all of the things that need to be managed, companies are also hosting a growing variety of in-person events, team meetings, client pitches, board meetings, things that I'm sure I've never even heard of. They're out there, and coordination has become more complex and more critical than ever. We introduced meeting services a little while ago, and what began as simple service requests is now evolving into a very robust foundation for managing every layer of event execution: your spaces, resources, communication, and follow through. With continued improvements to reporting, request workflows, centralized issue tracking, meeting services is becoming the backbone for end-to-end workplace event management. So soon you'll see improvements to reporting for better financial tracking and itemization. So if you have a menu with multiple items, currently they are in one field, and you'll be able to see them now in multiple fields so that you can report on them with the tools that you need. For request only rooms, so rooms that are in really high demand, maybe an EBR room or something for a special group of people, will allow you to decide whether you need to attach an approval form with details about your event. So rather than having to figure out who manages that floor, who do I need to send cookies over to in order to get this submitted, you can just add the information they need to decide and approve that room for you. And you'll also see buffer time added to rooms with service requests. So a lot of the time you need setup and tear down, you need help from cleaning crews, you need to make sure that there's not something taking place that lines up with your meeting. You need 15, 30 minutes before and after the meeting. So you'll be able to set the buffer time associated with that request type so that it automatically gets added and follows the meeting as the meeting gets changed, rather than having to create adjacent events on the end of each of these meetings. So longer term, think of Robin as your portal for all workplace ticketing. Issue tracking that goes beyond meetings, like just service requests, something is broken, something needs updating. We will be, a really powerful front end for that. And then if you do want to integrate with other platforms like ServiceNow, for example, that is That is on our longer term roadmap. So let's talk about visitors for a minute. Managing office visitors has become easier with Robin, but coordinating arrivals, security compliance, easy check-in experience, that involves juggling multiple tools, manual processes. So Robin's visitor management roadmap will centralize and streamline these tasks. We'll integrate visitor registration directly in Outlook. So if you have Outlook and you have visitor management, soon you will see the ability to add visitor invitations in Outlook. So when you are in the meeting, if we see that you have attendees or invitees that have an external email address, we will prompt you to add them as visitors. But even if we don't prompt you and some reason they need visitor access, you can do this in here. You don't have to go to the Robin web app to do that. And you'll see better filtering and sorting from the web app. So if you have hundreds of visitors coming through per day, you do actually need to be able to kind of sort, search, and filter. So you'll see that. And then finally, adding QR codes for check-in will make everything easier for visitors and admins. Finally, admins need to manage resources effectively, and employees expect an intuitive booking experience. They expect everything to just work. And with recent improvements, Robin's doubling down on our performance, customization, and smarter automation. So as Dana talked about earlier, parking and lockers is available from Robin. If you are not part of the beta, just reach out to your CSM and we will add you. But very soon, you'll also be able to create custom resources. So you might need something that is industry specific that you want people to be able to check out for the day, or just something that is not a parking spot or a locker. We've heard microscopes, lab equipments, cameras, bikes. I've even heard things like hammers and vans. Let your imagination run wild and you'll be able to make these reservable. And we will also allow users to see a waitlist option if all the desks are booked on a certain day, so that when a desk opens up, we'll let them know right away so that they have a home base for their work. That's it for me. I will pass it over to Becca.
Thank you, Ciara. All right, let's talk about how we take all the wonderful things that our product team is building and implement them within your organizations. I want to first start with a customer story. We have been working with one of the world's largest advertising agencies for over the last 5 years. They've rapidly grown from 6 locations to over 80 on Robin, with more than 40,000 active users last year, so a very large account. And like many customers, they started by solving core booking challenges with conference rooms and desks, but they're now expanding to things like visitor management and meeting services to drive further standardization of Robin. And part of the reason they're doing this is because last year they set the vision to standardize their workplace experience, particularly in their largest offices around the world. And what's awesome is by leaning into standardization, they will be able to leverage things like the workplace operations dashboard and analytics to gain better insights into their offices consistently. So they came to us to co-create a plan with them and work towards implementing this vision at the center, putting Robin at the center of their workplace operations. So I want to preview to you the approach we've taken with them from a success plan perspective. This is an example, and we understand that plans come in all shapes and sizes. So whether you are looking to implement features with us like visitor management, or redo your implementation with Robin, or just implement simple things in the platform, we want to customize a plan that works for you. So for this customer, our approach was to take a step back and level set, because they had been with us for a very long time, had grown rapidly, and we needed to realign stakeholders, make sure we had a clear vision of their workplace strategy. And then we started by completing a current state discovery with all of their offices that have been using Robin. And this piece is really important because each office operates a little bit differently. So we wanted to make sure that we had a really clear baseline in terms of what was being used, what was not being used, and then just overall sentiment. And once we had that baseline, we outlined future state goals with Robin and what standardization might look like. And I think what's really important with the term standardization, because it sounds very rigid on the surface, and that's not how they're defining it. But they're defining standardization based on what best practices and recommendations we might suggest they implement on their side, so they can really drive the highest value of the office with Robin. It's not necessarily down to every single nitty-gritty detail. Flexibility will be given too. So once we completed future state alignment, then comes re-implementation and just monitoring the progress towards moving towards their vision. And as we've worked through this project, we have a recurring cadence with them and really stay closely aligned. So this is one of the 3 plugs I will probably give you. If you're not currently meeting with your CSM on a regular basis, that is something I would highly encourage you to set up. It's really important that we have an understanding of what you're trying to achieve with the workplace so we can help you along the way. And so the next slide I just want to preview with you is everything you can do in Robin. And I really love this slide because it can give you a glimpse into everything, and you can go through and highlight what are you using, what do you want to use next, what's important to you. It's a really great starting point to work through this with your CSM if you're not sure where to start. Maybe take this as a sheet and just go through and say what might priorities be for us. Because there's always something that you can take advantage of. And finally, our second reminder, we are happy to work with you. We want to create these custom plans to help you continue to implement Robin further within your organization. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your CSM to set up a plan today. And I'll turn it back over to Austin.
Awesome. Well, thank you both. We have had a number of questions come in for you to cover. So Ciara, it looks like we've had some questions around custom resources. I think you've seen them. Oh, Ciara, you are on mute.
Thanks. I saw a couple of these. I haven't been able to follow every question, but I saw a couple of these come in at once. So can you limit parking spots to a certain group of people only? The answer is yes. So these have the same permissions as you can put on a desk, really as advanced as you want those permissions to be. So if you have exact parking spots, those you can limit to certain people or groups. When will parking spots and these other features roll out? Parking spaces and lockers are in beta right now. It's a very stable beta. So I would consider it, the only reason it's in beta, we're trying to get feedback on kind of what to prioritize, but you can access that beta. Anyone can. This is no additional cost. So reach out to your CSM and we can turn that on for you right now. And then can you set the parking spot for hours? We need this for EV parking. Let us check back if there's a certain time limitation that you can put on it. You definitely can book it for certain hours, but the limitation of how many hours, I'll need to check for you. So we'll write a note on that. I think that's all I was able to follow on the custom resources. Oh, okay. And actually, sorry, the broader custom resources beyond parking and lockers, you can expect that around June 1st. And you should join the beta for that as well. Just a little bit more detail on parking and lockers. There is a new map that we have implemented in the web app. It is going to be our future map. So even in the comments here, but from our customer feedback, we get feedback, the app is slow. And we have done some pretty amazing performance work on it. So everything's going to load kind of instantly, 10 times faster. You will need to use the new map. So you can just switch to that in your left-hand panel, but you'll need to use the new map in order to use custom resources. And there is a Robin Workplace app, which is what you will need to use That's our end user mobile app. That is in an early state as well. So you'll need to use that if you want to use custom resources. Everything I'm saying sounds complicated, but the point of this is we've spent the last year or so completely refactoring our mobile app so that everything will be instantaneous. So we have that in an early version out as the Robin Workplace app, and then also our web app. And so that's what we're moving towards, but we need to be really conscious, obviously, of change management, letting you all know what's coming in advance. And so that's why there are some kind of steps to take to access these things right now.
Cool. So some other questions that have come in, we've gotten a couple around visitor management. So when a visitor checks in, are they able to print a badge?
It is the actual, well, badge printing is available. That is typically done by the admin. So I'm not, the visitor, I suppose they don't have a button to do that, and the front desk does it.
I think it was just part of like the visitor management flow. So front desk doing that. Okay, so here's another question. We want to give people some consistency. So we're thinking about assigning neighborhoods or team-based areas. Do you have any best practices you can share around that?
The best practices, you'll want to look at, so you'll want to look at which parts of you'll want to first decide how you want people to work together. So is it most important for teams, like specific teams, to work with one another? Do you want certain kind of cross-functional collaboration to be easy? I think that's number one. I think ensuring the neighborhoods are in the places that line up to the resources that people need. So if you have a sales organization, you might want people in like a bullpen style place where there maybe isn't a ton of privacy. You want people to overhear each other's calls. Whereas if you have a finance organization, they may have a lot of kind of legal private conversations that they need to have. So you'll want individual phone areas. I think this applies generally to any office. And so neighborhoods will just make it easier for you to allow captains to actually manage the resources within a neighborhood. So really, as like an overall admin, you will want to decide kind of how many people use each neighborhood or have access. And that may not line up directly to the amount of employees in that department. So for example, I think I might be getting closer to the question. For example, you have a department that on average comes in twice a week, and they come in on different days, and there's 100 people in that department. You may decide that you want to implement a ratio of, 3 people to 1 desk, because that kind of lines up to their behavior. So maybe you have 30 or 40 desks for that neighborhood. So as an admin, you'll decide kind of how many resources should be in each neighborhood. And then the kind of captain delegation idea, which is coming later this summer, you can say, you can set like a head of the department or a chief of staff or something to own what actually happens within those resources. So you probably don't, as an admin, you probably don't care who specifically sits at what desk or how many of them are hotel desk and how many are assigned. So you'll be able to delegate that down to a person that really knows that part of the organization better.
Okay. Here's another one. Can multiple people collaborate on a layout draft at the same time, or is it more of a handoff process?
So currently you can collaborate on an assignment draft, and that will also apply to neighborhoods. So anything that has to do with assigning people, you can have multiple people working on that at once. You can share that draft. and then, publish it, and we make the conflicts clear. We help you manage those conflicts in the different drafts. Layout drafts, so sort of where the actual resources reside on the floor. Collaboration on the layouts is not available today. We would love to add that. It's definitely on our radar. So really the drafting right now is about where people go and what sort of capabilities or permissions the different desks have.
Correct. So we have a follow-up question about the captain feature and when it would be available. I think you said later this summer is the current plan, right?
Yes. You will be able to see neighborhoods prior to that. So you will be able to actually, at the admin level, set neighborhoods, set the color of the neighborhoods, and have them visible on the map sooner than that, I think around the May-June timeframe. And then the captain delegation will be the next step that comes later this summer.
All right, here's one for the workplace dashboard. Can we do things like approve service requests or message employees from the dashboard?
Yes. So right now for messaging employees, you'll see the announcements. We'll take you to a different screen, which I realize is an extra step. It shouldn't be too difficult. But one of the things that we're building is a unified. Right now you kind of go to the different apps. So you'll see your meeting requests, you'll see the visitors, you see all of those. And that's not how people think and do their job. The way that they want to see it is, what do I need to accomplish today? Maybe what does my team need to accomplish today, but sort of a task list. And so, yes, you'll be able to see all of the things that you need to approve in one view. But right now, you can do some of that directly within the dashboard. So you can approve and reject different services from there, and whatever is not kind of directly in line. The goal is for you to not have to go elsewhere on a daily basis to be able to take on those tasks.
Okay. We've got a couple more here. So how are other companies managing services throughout a building?
Yeah. So services can get, you think of an event and kind of like, well, schedule the room, maybe you need some sodas, maybe you need different, maybe you need some food ordered, but there are so many different stakeholders involved in really these kind of purpose-driven meetings. And so the types of requests that are most popular are catering, room setup, and IT. And so the great thing about this is you can add in, the prices of the items if you need to. You can also not expose that at all. You can add in custom menus. The ability to customize the services is very granular. For room setup, you can add images and things like that. And then a lot of the time, so for each service type, you can say which rooms, which floors that service is available to, and you can add different assignees for each service type, or even each like room or floor. And so I guess the point of this is, you're not going to expect, if you have 20 floors in your building and you have 100 conference rooms, you're not going to expect one person to field all of those requests. And you wouldn't necessarily even want one role to do that. So for certain, for the AV requests on floors 4 to 6, you would designate probably like an IT person that's responsible for those floors, maybe some sort of office manager, executive assistant. You really set who owns those, and then those people can see the dashboard view of all the tasks they need to accomplish in that day. Of course, they can see them ahead so that they can plan their weeks ahead, their budgets, and all of these things. But yeah, I would say align it to the people that are, align them as closely to the people that are actually responsible for managing those things. And then if you have vendors, you'll decide what your workflow is for if you need to export those services, if you want to get them an email and have them, actually be a Robin user. That's up to you, and kind of like the security and what level you want them to have access to your organization. And then, of course, if you want services to be private and people who are not responsible for them not to see them, by default, they will not see services that they are not responsible for fulfilling.
Okay. Last one before we wrap up. So can we track usage of lockers, parking spots, or any custom resources the same way we would track other bookings like decks?
Yeah. So analytics will be available in around the May timeframe. So one of the main reasons that we did this, aside from having nice icons that really align to what it actually looks like and the space it takes up, is that we wanted them to be separate. So I know that some of you have had the need to set up parking spots, and you've used desks for those. But what happens with that is it skews all of your analytics. So the analytics that you would have, even if your parking is just one floor, your analytics might be correct for that floor, but then it skews all of the overall kind of insights that you would need about that type of resource. So you'll be able to report on each different type of resource. A lot of the same reporting that's available for a desk. Just imagine that being available for the custom resource.
Okay. There's one more, CR, you might have the answer for. We might need to follow up on this one. But can a person be given the ability to schedule on behalf of another person, like an executive assistant, for example?
That's available today, but it depends on. I'm not sure which use case. You can schedule like desks and rooms and things. So maybe that one we can follow up for a little bit more detail about what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. There were some questions and feedback. We'll make sure that we get those routed to the right people and get responses to everybody else. All right. Well, that wraps up today's webinar. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We will share this recording. We'll email it to you most likely tomorrow. And as Becca shared, we're here and ready to work with you. So please be sure to reach out to your CSM or to the success team at the email on the screen. And if you're not yet a Robin customer, you can email our team at the address on the screen or visit robinpowered.com to reach out. Thanks again, and have a great rest of your day.